Welcome to Golf 101. My name is Mesha Levister. I'm the head men's and women's golf coach at Prairie View A&M.
And my name is Maulana Dotch. I am the general manager, PGA, LPGA golf professional here at Hermann Park Golf Course.
We're here at Hermann Park, where Maulana works and runs this place.
We're going to begin with a basic overview of the game of golf. So we are here at Hermann Park Golf Course. At the golf course, when you come into the facility, we have a clubhouse. This is where you would check in for your round of golf. We also have a practice area where you're able to hit balls. There's a putting area and a chipping area to work on your short game. So when you come to the golf course, it's not all about playing. You are able to practice and work on your game. The golf course has 18 holes. It takes about 4.5 hours to play a round of golf. You are able to play 9 holes, which takes about 2 hours to complete. I'm going to pass it over to Mesha, who's going to talk about par and scoring.
So par is the name of the game. So different distance holes have different par levels, and a par level is based on how many times it takes you to get to the green, and then based on a 2-putt. So if you have a par 3, it should take you 1 to get on the green, and then you should 2-putt. That's a 3, 1, 2, 3. And then a par 4, kind of 1 off the tee, 1 in the middle, down 2 putts, and then a par 5 is the same, 3 shots to get to the green, 2 putts. Some places have a par 6, it really just depends, but that thing is long. So golf holes typically range anywhere from 90 yards on up to 600 yards if they need to. So, I mean, golf is fun. So when it comes to scoring, there's a couple of fun names that we call some things around here. So a par is a par, so that's you did it just like it was supposed to be as a scratch golfer. If you're -1 on a hole, so that means if you're on a par 3 and you get it in 2, that's a birdie. Tweet, tweet, baby. If you got a par 4 and you get it in 3, that's a birdie. But adversely, if you get a bogey, that's 1 over par. So plus, minus, it works. You can get double bogeys, that means you're 2 over par. You can get an eagle, that's 2 under par. So there's a lot of different terminologies. What's the best you ever had?
The best score I've ever shot is 2 under.
2 under? Okay, we love that. You ever had an eagle?
I've had an eagle, I've had an albatross.
You had an albatross?
And I've had a hole-in-one.
Ooh, I done had 2 hole-in-ones, but the albatross, let's dig into an albatross. That's a big old bird. So an albatross is 3 under on a hole. So that means you're on a par 5 and you hit it in the second shot, which the odds of that are pretty low. So that's impressive.
Yeah,
you got that one.
Very similar to a hole-in-one. On the par 3, your first shot goes in the hole, hole-in-one. So second shot on the par 5.
What is it to be a Black woman in golf? In today's age, it's progress. So to be able to coach the next generation of great golfers that look like me is important. So, you know, to help the littles come up in programs like Maulana runs and those things, it's transcending. So kind of to be a trailblazer in the game, it's a lot of pressure, and there's been a lot that I've had to go through, but it's special. So to be able to change my legacy from thinking that I was going to be the greatest African-American tour player there was to trying to breathe the next is, to me, is one of the most important things. And that'll be my legacy when my time on earth is done.
I think we are in, the same arena, of course, growing the game of golf and being a Black woman in golf, but we're at 2 different points that are contributing. You're at the college level and I'm working with girls 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, trying to get them to where you are, to be a student of yours. And so here we have Journey Through 18, which is a foundation that was created to provide a community for girls to learn to play the game of golf. And so we focus on teaching the girls, of course, how to play golf, but life skills and leadership skills that they would need as they grow into young women. And so we try to get, college players in front of the girls so they can see, what they have, can see what's in front of them. If they continue to play golf, they can play in college for free. They can get a scholarship. They can get into the golf industry. And so we try to put these in front of the girls. And so it's important because I didn't have that growing up, which is why Journey Through 18 was created, to make sure we provide this community for girls.
And it's also absolutely important for the student athletes to be back in front of your girls, because at the end of the day, as soon as you become a Division I golfer, or any golfer of that matter, you become a role model. So there's a young child that is looking up to that person that looks like them and knows that they can be great or they can be at that level. So it keeps the push, and then that little girl can bring in her friend, and then that's how we transcend the game to look a little different.
And it continues. That cycle continues, and we're bringing in new girls consistently to keep the game growing.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about the golf course itself and the layout of a typical hole. So there are 18 holes on a golf course, par 3s, par 4s, and par 5s. So when you get to the golf course and you get to your first hole, you're going to start, like the starting point or the starting line is called a tee box. And so this is the area where you would tee your ball up to hit your first shot. Once you tee off, your ball should go into the fairway, which is the lowest cut part of the grass on the hole. So you want your ball in the fairway area. Once your ball's in the fairway, you hit your next shot. Hopefully you hit it onto the green. Once your ball lands on the green, from there you would putt until you get the ball into the hole. If you two putt, then that means you made a 4, which is part of that hole. There are other areas that you would not want to get into that can give you potential hazards or penalty strokes, and Mesha's going to cover those.
So there's places you don't want to be on the golf course, things that negatively affect you. So one place you got is called a bunker, and that is like going to the beach. It's in the sands, difficult to get out of, can't ground your club. There's also hazards like the water. So you're not safe, if you see some water and it goes over the red line or the yellow line, that's going to cost you some strokes, which adversely takes your score up. There are other waste areas. What else are there? There are a lot of stuff. Out of bounds. Oh, that's a big one. So you can't hit nobody's house in golf. I mean, out of bounds means it's off the golf course, and baby, you got to tee that back up. I think that's about it. The bad parts. I think trees. You got trees. Don't be behind a tree. But other than that, fairways, greens, that's kind of what you're looking for.
There are going to be obstacles, so it's always not a straight shot, clear open shot from the tee box to the green. There'll be times where you have to, is a dog leg to the right, the hole bends to the right, or the hole bends to the left, or it goes uphill. So you have to be able to play those shots to get to the green.
Other things that can affect your ball or your ability to golf is wind. That rain. Golf is an outside sport. Remember that. It's just not like Top Golf where you're covered and stuff like that. Golf is outside, as you can see. In golf, when you get to the golf course, you can either get a scorecard. This is a little scorecard here. You can get this from on the cart. If you're taking a cart, you can get it from typically on the first tee. You can also get it from by the counter when you check in. And then they also give you a little pencil, this little baby pencil, nothing too crazy. On the scorecard, you'll find a couple things. A lot of times you'll find where it's at, where the golf course is. A lot of times you'll find the course layout, any local rules that may be on it. They give you your pace of play, your etiquette, pretty much all the things, the basic knowledge that you need about the golf course if you've never played it before. And then if you flip to the other side, that's where you'll start being able to record your score.
So on the inside of the scorecard here, you have the pictures going across the top of the card, which gives you a visual of what each hole looks like. Under that are the hole numbers. There are 18 holes on a golf course, so you'll see numbers listed 1 through 18, and then you'll see a color. So out here, these colors represent the tee boxes. So we have gold tee boxes, blue, white, and red. And so when you decide to play golf, you have to choose a tee box to play from. You have to play from that same tee box the entire round. So if you choose the white tee boxes, from hole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 18, you have to tee off between those white markers. And on the scorecard, it tells you how far the hole is from the tee box to the green. And things are measured here in yards, okay? So not feet or meters, but in yards. So for example, on hole number 1, from the white tees is 240 yards. So that's the distance from the tee box to the green. So when you're playing golf, you have to figure out what club you need to hit the ball those distances to get it onto the green, okay? And you'll see that listed 1 through 9 for the front 9, and then 10 through 18 for the back 9. So you got to remember 18 holes, they're split in half. You have the front 9 and the back 9. Also listed on the scorecard are the pars. So Mesha talked about par 3s, par 4s, par 5. Every hole is given a par. And so if it's a par 5, you want to try to shoot 5 or better on that hole. The last thing listed here on the scorecard is the handicap. The handicap is the ranking. So each hole is ranked according to how difficult it is. The #1 ranked handicap hole on the golf course is the hardest hole, all the way down to 18. The hole that's ranked 18 is the easiest hole on the course, okay? So just some things that you will look at. When you're writing your score, you're gonna write your name in that first white block, and then your score for every single hole until you get to the very end. So here at Hermann Park, our par is 70. So that means that if you shoot 70 or better, you shot par or beat par.
And you can come play for me at PV if you're shooting that as a college student. I am not gonna lie.
Coach would take you, definitely, definitely. And so as you learn to play golf, your score is going to be high, of course, when you first start. But as you start to play and practice, that score is going to get lower and lower. So the whole objective in golf is to have a lower score. It's to get the ball into the hole in as fewer strokes as possible. Okay. We're talking about etiquette, where you stand, the line between the person's ball and the hole.
Personal space. Is she fucking? Go ahead.
Nope. Yep.
Yes, ma'am. That's like gold right there. Touch on something super important, which is the dress code. So golf has always been a classy game. So the clothes were always different. They're very different from what you would wear on the basketball court, the soccer field, football field. So as you can see, Maulana and I are dressed a little bit differently. So she'll go through what she's got on and kind of what it looks like.
So as Mesha pointed out, golf attire is different, you know. It's always had this kind of stuffy, professional type feel. If you go back and look at pictures from golf from years back, the guys wore slacks, shirts, button-up shirts, some ties, vests. You know, the ladies had on the long skirts, the long sleeve shirts. So the attire has changed, but I'm in a typical standard attire you'll see for a golf course. I have on a skirt, I have on a collar shirt, and golf shoes, or even now tennis shoes are acceptable. You'll see anything from shorts, capris, pants. Typical collar shirt is standard, you know, in golf. You'll see some no collar shirts. They're sleeveless shirts now, but this is what you'll typically see. When you go to a public golf course, the dress code is not as strict, so you are able to wear t-shirts, you know, khaki shorts or khaki pants, even denim sometimes. But if you go to a private or a higher end golf course, you definitely have to have on a collar shirt, and you cannot do any denim. It needs to be khaki or that material type of pants. You need to find out what the ladies' dress code is, because some are different. Some say no sleeveless, no razorback. So it just depends on the facility that you're going to. But typically, if you have on a collar shirt and non-denim bottoms, you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right.
For sure. So I'm dressed a little bit differently. So I would say probably 5-6 years ago, this wasn't acceptable, but I'm wearing a hoodie. So I like to stay warm, and I like to cover my head sometimes, especially when I'm coaching. But I do have on a typical, it's actually a little different. I have on a khaki color pant. They are joggers, which, like I said, it wasn't acceptable a while ago. I do have on tennis shoes. We saucy. But I have on a polo underneath. But you can wear this in most places. Now you go to a higher up kind of country club, maybe they may not accept the hoodie, you know, kind of the older regime still don't kind of rock with that. But, you know, for most of your golf courses, you're going to be able to wear that hoodie. You're going to be able to do certain different things. I mean, I think big points for men or women is making sure that your clothes aren't too short. So guys, don't have them coming up all the way to your thighs. Ladies, same way. Because that is one thing that can be done. And so dress code is part of etiquette. So etiquette's a really big thing in golf.
I would say before we switch to etiquette, wherever you're going, call the facility first to find out if they have a dress code, or look them up online. You just want to make sure when you get there, there's no issues. You're able to go out and practice and play. All right. Spinning off into etiquette, I call etiquette, or I say etiquette is how you behave or act on the golf course. So there's tons of rules in the game of golf. The golf rule of golf, the book is about this thick. But etiquette is basically how you behave, what you do, what you are not supposed to do when you get on the golf course. And that starts from the time you walk into the clubhouse until you finish your round and go back to your car. I guess we can start with the putting green. I would start at the putting green.
For sure, for sure.
And then kind of work our way back.
Yeah, for sure. So, the putting green is one of those essential things. And if most people don't know, the putting green is probably the most expensive thing it is to build on a golf course. That little area costs a lot of money because the grass is so fine and tight. It requires a lot of care and maintenance. So you don't want to be running on the putting green. You don't want to be dragging your feet. You don't want to take turf out. You don't want to, hit golf balls off other than putting, unless you're a super professional. So you want to make sure that you're doing all the right things on the green because they're very expensive to maintain.
Another point of etiquette on the putting green is when you're playing with someone. You have to show respect to the person that you're playing with. So where you stand is important. If you're making any movements or sounds. So ideally, when you get on the putting green, if somebody's getting ready to address their putt, you want to make sure you're standing back out of the way. You don't want to stand in that person's line of sight to the hole. You don't want to crack your knuckles, play with your glove, walk around, do anything that's going to distract that person while they're making their putt. Another thing of etiquette is walking to your ball or where you walk on the putting green. If somebody's ball is on the green and they're going to the hole, you never want to step between that person's golf ball and the hole. You want to make sure you always walk around that area. That area is very important. So when Mesha talked about dragging your foot or messing up the turf, you don't want to do anything to disrupt that turf between the golf ball and the hole.
For sure. And then other places, other types of etiquette, it depends on where you're playing. We play ready golf, which is when you get to your ball, go ahead and hit it if you're ready, as long as you're not in the way or there's no one in your way. But we also have honors golf, which is basically if you're the furthest away from the hole, it's your turn. So it really depends on, you got to know your environment when it comes to that. What format you're playing, who you're playing with, because that can be a little dicey with that. But go ahead. No, you're good. Go ahead.
And that's a good conversation starter with the group. So if you're going to go play with some people, especially new people, you want to talk about those things before you start your round of golf. Do you like to play ready golf? Do you want to play honor golf? Just what do you all do typically when you play your round of golf? What you don't want to do is be that person that nobody wants to play with. So starting out as a beginner, you definitely want to ask questions and learn as much as you can. So when you go out onto the golf course, you are prepared.
For sure. And then, so kind of working back to the fairways or closely mown areas, you want to make sure that if you make a divot, you go pick it up or you fill it with the sand that is provided for you. You want to make sure you're maintaining the golf course at all times, because at the end of the day, we got to keep these places like Hermann Park beautiful. So you want to fill your divots. You want to make sure you're fixing your pitch marks, because gravity says the ball's coming into a putting green, it's going to make a dent somehow. So you want to make sure you're fixing your divots, pitch marks, all that good stuff. Tee boxes, if you make a divot on tee box, fix it, which goes into what you're supposed to do with the tee box.
Yeah. So when you get to the tee box, you have to tee your ball between those two markers. Okay, that's the first thing. And when someone tees their ball up, everyone else stands back. You never want to stand in a location where you have a possibility of getting hit by the golf club or the golf ball. And so you just make sure you're in a safe distance. You're not interfering with the person that's getting ready to hit the golf ball.
So, there's a lot of we could go on for hours about golf course etiquette and clubhouse etiquette and stuff. It really just depends on where you are. Some clubs, it goes back to the dress code. Some clubs don't allow fellas to wear their hats on the inside. So that's something that you got to know, because you can get told very quickly, please get out until you put your hat on. So, that's just a piece of etiquette. Dress code is etiquette.
And one last thing, pace of play.
Oh, yeah.
And being on time. Time and pace is very important in golf. If you book a tee time at 10 a.m., you need to get to the golf course, I would say 9:15, because you need to be ready on number one tee box with your ball teeing up at 10 o'clock. So not walking in the building at 10 o'clock, not checking in, trying to get your golf cart, not trying to get food or go to the restroom. At 10 o'clock, you are on the tee box hitting your first shot. So you have to give yourself some time there, because the tee sheet is packed or there are people behind you waiting. So the golf course tees people off in slots of time. So if there's a 10 o'clock, there's a 10:10, there's a 10:20, there's a 10:30, there's a 10:40. So if your tee time is 10 and it's 10:05 and you're just walking in the building, you've missed your time. Like the 10:10 is getting ready to tee off, 10:20 is going behind them, then 10:30. So you basically have to wait until there's an open time for you to be able to play. So time and pace is very important. When we talk about pace, once you start playing, every hole is allowed 12 to 13 minutes to complete. So once I tee off, I have about 12, 13 minutes to finish that hole and go to the next hole. And so if I'm doing that in a slower time, or if it's taking me more time to do that, I'm holding up the pace of the golf course. And so now that next group that needs to tee off won't be able to tee off because I'm slowing up the pace. So pace of play and being on time is highly one of the most important things in golf.
When you're starting out playing, you're gonna lose golf balls. You got 3 minutes. If your 3 minutes is up, let that ball go and keep it moving. That helps with the pace, and you don't want anybody behind you saying, while we're young, people, while we're young.
Recommendations or tips for you to help you become a better golfer. My first recommendation would be to take golf lessons. You're coming into a new sport, not sure what you should do or what to expect. So I would say find a local PGA or LPGA golf professional and take golf lessons. They can get you going in the right direction where when you practice, you know what you're working on, what you're practicing.
She's absolutely right. I agree with that. And my point is going to be to go out there and practice, whether it's just go putt a little bit, go get you some range balls and stuff. Make sure you got some of the fundamentals down before you ever step foot on the golf course. But lessons are very important, so I totally agree with you there, Maulana. Thank you for joining us with Golf 101. We hope you learned something. We hope you enjoyed. I'm Mesha Levister.
I'm Maulana Dotch. Tee it high.
Let it fly.